Firstly, we learned this week that Prince Harry, when he was over for the Invictus Games ceremony, he didn't want to stay in a royal residence that was offered to him by the King because he didn't feel he had enough protection there. Does that make any sense to you? We've both been in palaces and royal residences. They're pretty safe, aren't they? What's going on here with Harry?
Well,
how can he make that claim?
They're protected by armed policemen, every one of them, and no exceptions unless you've got the right pass. No one can get in there. Now, you know, it's been known that people have climbed over the wall at Buckingham Palace, but they're pretty soon apprehended. Recently, there was someone who turned up with a crossbow at Windsor Castle, but he was quickly arrested. So, no, I think that was a poor excuse. I think he wanted to stay in a hotel, and he was determined to do that. And don't forget, he travels with a small retinue of bodyguards as well. And so I suspect that was the reason why he did it. He had his own protection, and he felt that was enough.
Well, the stories are changing, aren't they? So famously, you know, they put a statement out saying that he wouldn't be able to see the King because the King was too busy. Now it emerges the King actually said, you can stay in one of our palaces if you want, and that means that me and you can have a bit of time to hang out. Now all of a sudden he's saying, well, I didn't want to stay there because I didn't feel safe. I mean, it just doesn't add up.
No,
does it?
It doesn't. And this is the story of Harry, though. You know, ever since he decided to leave the royal family and go his own way in the United States, and he's just behaving, I think, sometimes appallingly. Certainly, some of the things he said about members of the royal family, certainly, and Camilla and Catherine and his brother. I think. You just don't do that with families. You know, your family's the most important thing in your life, and you just do everything to keep the family together and at peace. And I imagine the King's sort of unhappy with Harry being around people where he could learn stories and hear gossip and then put it in either his next book or his next podcast or his next radio or TV interview. And it looks like he's well informed. But of course, you know, the King felt very upset with that last thing Harry did, the book, especially what he said about his lovely wife Camilla. You know, because I mean they're a very loved up couple, and you know to offend our Queen like he did in that book, you know, it really upset the King, and you know I don't think he could easily forgive that. And I imagine the King's had strong words with him over it. Probably the reason why he didn't want to go and stay with him, because he probably would get another lot.
But it might not only be the King that didn't want Harry staying in a royal residence.
Well, you know, I think if you're referring to his brother, well, you know, I think that's going to take an awful lot of peacemaking for that feud to end, because William's pretty angry about that, and he doesn't seem to care who he tells about that. You know, he feels that you know his brother. Well, just referring in that opera, well, Meghan as well, referring to that Oprah Winfrey interview about, you know, the royals are racist in many ways because they questioned the colour of Archie's skin. Well, I mean, you know, I've talked to people with mixed race, and they say, well, that's a normal conversation you have when you're expecting your first child.
And they've gone back on that as well.
Well, now they have, yeah. But you know, then he quickly said, oh, it wasn't the Duke of Edinburgh or the Queen that said it. And then, you know, and at a later date, the Queen put out a statement saying, you know, our recollections vary. Well, I imagine, you know, most people will realise that was just the Queen saying, look, we don't believe anything you say, you know. So, in my view, Harry, if he comes here, fine, he's welcome here. Obviously, he's a prince of the realm, although he's decided to keep the title but not do any work. I don't think he's entitled to stay in a royal palace. I think he, you know, book into a hotel at any time, but you know he's not putting. Look, you know, to be a member of the royal family in this country is a huge job. You're on show, you're in this electronic goldfish bowl all the time, people watching you, watching everything you do, everything you say, and a lot of responsibility that carries. And he didn't want that anymore. He wanted to go. I don't know why he went, because he was so popular here. I remember working with him. He was fantastic. He was just amazing. He was, especially with children, he was absolutely brilliant. And I travelled the world with him, and I did really enjoy working with him. But now I really don't care if I ever see him again, because the way he's behaved towards the king and our queen and his brother and his sister-in-law is appalling. And I just feel that it's about time he realised that. And he can't come and stay in palaces. He was, though the king still loves him, and he would love him to come back and work for the family, but not as long as he's not going to write stories about it. And I think while that situation's still ongoing, I think that there's nothing's going to change.
Well, what my understanding is that Harry didn't want to stay in the this royal residence that was offered because it was in a visible location with public entrance and exit points with no police protection. Now, I can tell you that he actually stayed when he was over here at the Coworth Park Hotel, which we know. The Coworth Park Hotel, which is a short drive from Windsor Castle. It's just off Crown Estates land. It's just off Windsor Great Park. But it's where Harry and William stayed the night before Harry's wedding to Meghan. I mean, it's something that they know, but it's a 5-star hotel. It's palatial. It's a really nice place. I can't afford to stay there. I think it's like £500-600 a night or something like that. But that's where he stayed, as opposed to a royal residence. I mean, we're not security experts. Does that make sense to you that you turned down a palace?
It seems a lame excuse, personally. I mean,
Leading up to it, you'd think this was going to be the social event of the century. The media was obsessed. Every tabloid, every talk show, full royal fever. People crying outside Windsor Castle, dressed like characters from The Crown. There were commemorative mugs. People took time off work. It was like the Super Bowl of matrimony. But if you were actually inside the event, let's just say reality looked very different. Let's talk weather. Because apparently England picked one day in the decade to hit 30 degrees Celsius, and it was that day. There was no shade, no breeze, no mercy. Just direct sun, black tie attire, and about 600 overdressed guests slowly melting like royal wax figures.
Royal palaces are fortresses. Everything's protected. I mean, Balmoral. I mean, it's just so protected, and they're so proud of that. The Metropolitan Police, that what they do. And when the king goes up to Balmoral, the Metropolitan Police go up there with him. I mean, they do long duties up there. So, no, it's a fact that they are safe. He just preferred the hotel, in my view.
Don't go anywhere, because we have plenty more coming up in the rest of the show.
I thought to myself, this is all showbiz rubbish. The whole thing was just stage managed to suit them.
Me and you have been working together for like 4 or 5 years, but you're celebrating a bit of an anniversary this year, aren't you?
Well, I've done 50 years on the paper.
It's your golden anniversary.
Well, you could call it that. I like to think it long service. I'm quite proud of that fact, actually, because I've been working for Mr. Murdoch for all these years, and he's a good employer, and he's always been very fair with me, and I feel this is a great paper, and we're pretty quick with the news. We're pretty quick with the royal news. I mean, and great exclusives. And thanks a lot to you, Matt. I mean, you've been doing brilliantly since you've joined the royal reporting team, and it's been enjoyable. But I think we're going to not do too much in the near future with this.
Well, exactly. So
election,
the king. You must have seen many prime ministers and stuff with the Queen back when she was around. But so Sunak has called an election July the 4th. We finally know, but he had to go to speak to the king to tell him that he was to dissolve Parliament at some stage and that he was going to hold a general election. This a big moment for the king? Do you think this is his first general election as monarch? He's going to have lots of constitutional roles. He's going to take up a lot of his time and attention.
It is, but he said farewell to Liz Truss. He said he's going to probably say farewell to Mr. Sunak and probably welcome a new prime minister, and all in 2 years. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But the thing is, with a general election, everything of importance that would sort of outshine reporting on the election gets cancelled, and I imagine the king was pretty cross about that, because he's just come back from a long illness. I mean, we didn't see him for months. And he's been really putting a big shift in, you know. I mean, he's working every day this week. And because of now the election, you know, a lot of it's going to be cancelled. I hope some of the big events go ahead. I hope that, you know, we get to Normandy with him and Troop in the Colour, you know, the big events in London, his official birthday. But you know, the election is important, and it will and should supersede everything. It's a big moment for the country. In democracy, it is the most important thing that we can change the government anytime we feel it they're not doing the job for us, and the King will accept that. You know, he knows that's part of his duty. That you know, he's head of state, but the Prime Minister is the elected head of the government, and that's more important. So, you know, we'll probably be kicking our heels for a bit, but, you know, I imagine when the election's over, we'll be run off our feet with it every single day. But he is, you know, the King is very interested in the running of the country. I imagine every day they have their weekly meeting with the Prime Minister. Now they're all it's probably private and no one ever knows what's said, but imagine having worked with Prince Charles and for over 40 years, he's very interested in I think he's very much a socialist in my view. You know, he's very interested in the benefit, you know, helping the less well off, and you know, lots of these things he's done over mostly unheralded and you would unheard of, you know, and he would make sure that he gets his points of view to the Prime Minister. Now, be a stupid Prime Minister in my view didn't listen to him, because he's a very wise man and very much a visionary. I can remember, you know, him talking about organic food, and people called him a crank, and now you can't move in supermarkets for organic food. I can remember him talking about poor architecture, and the architects condemned him. But go and look at Paternoster Square now. It's beautiful, and also the King is not frightened to speak out. He does his research. He gets his facts in order, and he says it, and he's not frightened of the criticism. And he's an amazing man, but he's going to be doing like most of us, just watching party political broadcasts on the television. But, you know, having said that, it's only for 6 weeks, and that's not a lifetime, and it'll be back to normal soon.
Well, it might help him, really, because he set off at such a huge pace after the doctors said that, you know, he was okay to kind of return to work. But there was a sense of frustration, I think, wasn't there, with the King earlier this year, that his reign had kind of been interrupted while he was dealing with his cancer treatment. I think he was happy. He said the other day he was glad to be out of his cage on an engagement. Yeah. You know, now he has to go back into the cage a couple of weeks. But we still should get him at trooping, Royal Ascot. These things were, you know, will be great. But it'll just be as you pointed out, will just be, you know, some of not the more mundane, but some more of that may be veering into kind of political areas, or might be, you know, a little bit vulnerable to be talking about, you know, major political issues and stuff like that.
Yeah, I also think our Queen, Camilla, will be relieved, because I was with her last week in Rye in Sussex, and she said, you know, she asked me how I was. I said, fine, ma'am. I said, you know, I'm pleased that the King's getting well. She said, yes. She said, if only he'd do what he was told, you know. So, you know, really, she probably, you know, wants him to slow down a wee bit. But he's, you know, I saw him this week at the Chelsea Flower Show, and he looked amazingly well, you know. So and in fact, he's raring to go, but I should imagine he's still got to take it easy. You know, he's got to pace himself. I've got me telling him to pace himself.
Stay tuned. There's loads more to come in the rest of the show.
Done some really lovely royal weddings. I did both King Charles's weddings. I did William's wedding. I did Andrew's wedding. I did Sophie and Edward. You know, I mean, they were lovely occasions, but that day I couldn't get out of Windsor quick enough.
These 6 weeks, as I say, where the royals will have to slow down, sadly, and not do as many engagements, it's probably not the right time, even if there is a right time, for the Princess of Wales to to come back. She's still at home. There's been loads more. The usual suspects have been going online and making up nonsense. I can say she is at home. She is still recovering. She's still kind of obeying doctor's orders. But there's absolutely no need to rush her back, particularly as everything's going to be about the election at the moment.
I think she'll come back when the doctors say so, and then the 6 weeks will probably be a welcome relief to her that she's no pressure.
I wore a suit, a good one, but I might as well have wrapped myself in cling film and gone jogging. I saw someone fan themselves with the official program. Another guest fainted legit. It felt like the Hunger Games, but for hydration. Now, I wasn't expecting to sit next to the Queen, but I also didn't expect to be seated far enough back that I could barely see the venue, let alone the couple. Rosie, literally. I was behind a minor royal, 2 hats, and a tree branch. At one point I thought, is this a wedding or am I attending through Google Maps? My view, 0. My patience, running out. Okay, maybe food would save the day. A royal feast, right? Banquets, finger sandwiches. Try 1 canopy. 1. And I swear it disintegrated before I even tasted it.
We did hear from people who've been working with her this week, because a year ago, she set up this Centre for Early Childhood and set up a task force to kind of look into ways to kind of get businesses involved to kind of really help and use the science to kind of help children ages between 0 and 5. There was a briefing this week because they announced their first report. It was a 60-page report saying that if they put these proposals into place, they could £45 billion back into the government coffers. But we were told that not only had the Princess of Wales read the report, she was the driving force behind it, and she was excited by all the proposals that come out. Bearing in mind that we know that that she is unwell and she's recovering, is this the Princess of Wales that who's still working behind the scenes and getting involved in her big projects? Is this what we should expect of her?
Imagine, like the King, when getting treatment, he was still working on his boxes and stuff. I imagine she's doing the same. I imagine she has her staff, planning things and events and also projects that she's heavily involved in. So imagine, even though we're not seeing her, she's not making public appearances, I imagine she's still pretty busy doing that. And and I think she's just an incredible woman in my view. She not only a mother and rearing 3 beautiful children, she's a great member of the royal family. She's a hard-working member of the royal family. She's a great photographer. I have to say that. Her pictures get better and better, and she shares them with us all. And she's just a huge star in the royal family. I mean, there's no secret that she is the biggest star of them all, and she's obviously recovering, and when the doctors say you can get back and go out there and engage with the public again. I mean, the thing is, they can't engage with the public because of infection, that's the problem. So it's not like she wouldn't want to, it's just she's ordered not to. And so look, the King, we had to wait patiently for the King, and he made his return, and he's back working back to normal, and let's just see. It won't be long before I think we'll see Catherine again, but this 6-week break now will be good for her, I think. It was a shame that they are short-handed at the moment, although I did see Beatrice and Eugenie this week at a garden party supporting William, which I thought was quite nice, actually. I mean, they're lovely, lovely girls, those. I've known those since they were children, since they were come out of the hospital in their mother's arms. They are just super girls, and that was a great support. And then I saw Zara Phillips there as well. So remember, some of these younger members could get involved in, well, for instance, the garden party. I mean, William took that on himself. I think the King was due to be there, and he had to cancel for some reason. And the girls came along, and we don't think they're important, but they are. I mean, they are granddaughters of the late Queen, and they are nieces of the King, and they have a role to fulfil. Maybe not in the front line, maybe not out there, but supporting members of the royal family, like the garden parties, you know, and they'll be at Ascot. I'm sure they're sorting their dresses out for it at the very moment, and they'll be there for that. And, you know, and they are nice. They're really hardworking, very caring girls. I mean, usually, she's an amazing lady. I mean, can't say she did me a personal favour once with help she did. She gave me. I mean, she is a lovely person. So that was interesting. And of course, William. I mean, William is just taken on a massive amount. You know, I mean, without Catherine, but he's, as always, he'll probably be a little relieved that he's had a little break now.
So as you say, William invited the other members of the royal family. So he invited Beatrice, Eugenie, Mike and Zara Tyndall, and Peter Phillips to the garden party. And as you were saying there, it's just really nice to actually remember them again. Do you know what I mean?
Also, they're family. They're his cousins. You know, they're all his cousins. They're all cousins. They're all family. And you do, and I just think it's a lovely thing. I just think it's a really nice thing. And
do we need to see more of them, Arthur?
I would like to see more of Beatrice and Eugenie. Yeah, I do.
Working royals, or
I don't know. I mean, I imagine the King's given it some thought, because
It was smaller than a postage stamp and disappeared faster than my hope. I saw someone try to grab a second and get side-eyed by a staffer. By the time I left, I was ready to walk barefoot into the nearest Pret-a-Manger and order one of everything. Ah yes, the royal reception. Sounds fancy, right? It was weird. No one was relaxed. No one was dancing. It felt more like a networking event where no one brought business cards. Elton John performed, which was cool. But even he looked like he was spiritually somewhere else. It was stiff, formal, weirdly quiet. People kept whispering like they were in a museum. By the time it was over, I was sunburned, hungry, slightly delirious, and borderline questioning my entire existence. The highlight of the night, my Uber driver offered me a granola bar. I'm not kidding. That snack did more for me than the entire royal family.
And couldn't get away from Windsor quick enough. And I remember showing Camilla in I think Munich the first pictures of Archie that was taken by the Press Association. I remember showing her on my phone, and she sort of, and that was the first time she saw him. You know, so it was a difficult time. So I have to say, though, you know, that first year of Meghan, that working with her on the road, I mean, you know, we went all over the country. I mean, she was incredible. I mean, I thought she was, and I was saying this, you know, I thought she was a great asset to the family. And I kept asking the palace if we could have a meeting with her. You know, the royal people, the people who covered the royals, could have a meeting with Meghan, like we did with Catherine. And, you know, so introduce ourselves and let her to know who was writing about her and photographing her. And I was assured it was going to happen, but it never did. And then pretty soon, like, you know, she'd made her mind up that they were going, and that was it. But
you get a sense that they made, if you're talking about the wedding, everyone was made to feel unwelcome.
Not everybody, just the British
press,
yeah,
just
British
the people
press,
that travel the whole world, spend their whole life.
All my life, you know. And then Oprah Winfrey had met them once. She was a guest. The Clooneys, you know, the guests. I mean, never met them before, but they were the guests. And you know, I thought to myself, you know, this is all showbiz rubbish, you know.
Did you get a sense then that they wanted out, that they wanted a California life, that they wanted showbiz, that they weren't interested? If they weren't interested in making people feel welcome at the wedding, it just seems to me they made a decision back in 7 years ago.
I'm looking. I mean, Oprah Winfrey was there, and then the first big interview they did was with Oprah Winfrey. And you know, most of that interview was left on the cutting room floor because it was so one-sided and it was so unfair. And I think about watching it now, and you know, the bit about Archie and the colour of his skin. And I knew they'd be seething. I knew the Queen would be seething. I knew that the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, would be seething. It would be so unfair, because one thing they're not is racist. You know, they are not. I've been with the King all over Africa, all over South America. I've never seen only just engaging and enjoying the company of these people. So, you know, it would be no way that he would be like that. He's just and it was just an unfair thing to say. But it was, you know, I mean, she delivered it like an actress delivered it, and an opera responded going, wow, you know, as though like, you know, it was awful, and then of course some of the Netflix stuff and the book, oh God, you know, it was dreadful. But
so to confirm, Arthur, you didn't do anything to celebrate Harry and Meghan's 7th wedding anniversary?
I'll tell you what, no, I don't even, I'm surprised it lasted that long. No, many people said it wouldn't, but it has. I mean, they're obviously, you know, they're probably happy together. They've got 2 lovely children. And it's one of the saddest things of all, Matt, of course, is that the children don't get to see their grandfather, either grandfather, you know, and that's really so awful, because they're not getting to meet their cousins and to know their cousins. And it's such a shame for them.
There it is. Happier times this week. Buckingham Palace garden parties, Chelsea flower show as well. Can you give us just a flavour? You've done lots of them. We talked about 50 years, your golden anniversary, but you've done a lot of this. Can you just give a flavour of what it's like? And many people haven't attended a Buckingham Palace garden party.
Yeah.
I mean, they're, you know, the highlight in the calendar for many people if you get a ticket and you get to go there. But what is it like at a garden party or Chelsea flower show when you're with the King, the Queen, Prince and Princess of Wales, etc.?
Well, I've been to several garden parties with my wife, and they are amazing. I mean, first and foremost, everybody's beautifully dressed. I mean, the women must spend millions of pounds on clothes. They look lovely. And then, of course, the royals come out, and then there's a big lineup. And people think that lineup is exclusive, but it isn't. If you're a member, if you've been invited, you can join that lineup, and you get to meet the King and Queen, King or the Queen. One does either side. But the food is lovely. There's so much of it. The tea is absolutely, I mean, tea is my favourite drink. It's absolutely.
Yeah, I can testify for that.
Yeah, and it's really, and you can walk around the gardens and the lake, and it's the most beautiful afternoon, and you see so many people, you know, or they know you, and it's a really, and the 2 hours, it goes in a flash, you know, it goes so quickly, but it's really lovely. And I've been to the Chelsea Flower Show every year for the last 30 years, it must be. And every year, where the Queen used to go, the Queen was the patron of the Royal Horticultural Society. And the big thing is the route she takes through the gardens. Everybody desperately wants the Queen to come through the garden. And we had a very, very famous gardener called Peter Seabrook. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but one year he asked me to go and do some pictures for him, and I said, are the royals coming past your stand? We had a wonderful stand there, it was called Sunflower Street. He said, oh, they never come here, never come to the Sun stand. I said, oh, why is that? He said, oh no, they just don't. So I was there, and I saw Prince Charles walking by about 2 rows back. So I went over to said, Prince Charles, would you come and look at our garden, please? And he said, okay. And he came over, and Peter, like, went straight into his Rahai beat mode, and he started telling the King about what they were doing. And it was a fascinating, it was called Sunflower Street, and there was a bridge across the top. And I think he won a gold medal for it that year, Peter. And next day we ran a big page of pictures of the King with Peter. The following year, we had the Queen Mother, Princess Margaret, the Emperor, the Crown Prince of Japan, and Chelsea Clinton all came to Peter's stand, and so it then became normal. And in fact, the last time the Queen, she came just before she died, the year before she died, and she came to Peter's stand, and Peter had got this special bouquet made of flowers he'd grown in his own garden for her. And I remember getting the Queen sort of smelling the flowers, and she came in a little carriage, you know, a little sort of cart. So legs were not too good to walk around. So it was, but this year I went, and the King and Queen were there, and of course they go separate routes. One of the nicest pictures I took on the route was when they passed each other or going their separate ways, and they were laughing at each other, meeting each other. So, you know, it's been a busy week. I mean, there's been garden parties, there's been the flower show, and now there's been a 6-week break.
Well, exactly. Well, listen, I think we've covered everything for the week. But as I say, we do have 6 or 7 weeks, but we will still be covering every single royal job that happens, every kind of royal story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right, thanks, Arthur. Thanks for coming on. I've had a great time.
It's a pleasure, Matt. It's a pleasure working with you, Matt. As well.
We'll see each other in hopefully in Normandy for the D-Day celebration.
Please God, yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like the show, then please subscribe for more royal content.
So yeah, I went to the royal wedding. And no, it wasn't magical. It wasn't glamorous. It was hot, hungry, and deeply humbling. To be clear, Harry and Meghan seem lovely. This isn't about them. It's about the machine around them. The pomp, the pressure, the overhype. My advice, if you ever get invited to a royal wedding, say thanks, then watch it from your couch with snacks. Trust me, if you enjoyed this commentary, hit that follow, subscribe, whatever button. Drop a comment and tell me, would you go to a royal wedding? Or would you send a gift and ghost the crown? I know what I'm doing next time. See you in the next one.